Welcome back into On-Air, everyone. I am Ryan Ayers, and it's fitting with the ESPN College Football Awards show taking place tomorrow night in Orlando, Florida, that we go into episode number 50 of On-Air, and we go into a year in review of the college football preview that I put out there in late August. We're going to check out tonight where I went wrong and where the knowledge machine was spot on. And the three categories that I prefaced when we went out on this college football preview show in late August, like I said, we talked about the Final Four teams. I predicted who would make the Final Four, and the three surprise teams in the NCAA College Football Division I ranks. I looked at it as top 25, middle of the road type of team, and then also a mid-major style of team. And the final preview that I made was a prediction on the Heisman Trophy, which will be announced coincidentally in a couple days, Saturday night in New York City. And so I want to start with the final four teams that I predicted. I nailed three of them. That's pretty solid. And that's where I get the right to say I am a knowledge machine. Nailed Alabama. That's not really that tough. Clemson along the way had some issues, but they found a way still to go 12-1. When you have Deshaun Watson leading your football team, you're in just about every single game, and you should win every game with him on the field. And the third team that got in was a little bit controversial in the end because of something we talked about throughout the year with their strength of schedule, the Washington Huskies. And I think in the end they deserve to get in. And where I have a little bit of egg on my face, coming from the Midwest, I possibly bought in too much on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You know, when you look at their season they had and the one team I missed in the Final Four drastically, they have the talent. Maybe it's a little bit young, but like I said early on in that prediction about 4 months ago, the issues on that campus, as we see now with the student newspaper going public with an ad to have Brian Kelly and his athletic director canned, that came out today, it's all about Brian Kelly. It's really not, I don't think, about youth or injuries or this or that he comes up with excuses countless times throughout each and every season he's there and failed in almost every single one of them. It's him. He doesn't want to leave any stone unturned as he comes back for his 8th season in 2017. But the problem is he doesn't look himself in the mirror ever. He is the problem. He does not get game management, game strategy. You know, just when you think he's going to go for one, he goes for two when he doesn't need to. And that's cost Notre Dame on a couple occasions throughout the last few years. But this year, it was more or less him not having his team ready. In past years, he's had quality enough talent, more experience that they can get through tougher times like that. But he just doesn't know what he's doing. I think he's in over his head at the University of Notre Dame. So it was more or less, when you lose almost every game by a possession, you got to look your head coach in the mirror and not necessarily the talent when you go 4-8. So we go down to the three teams I predicted to have surprise seasons. Tennessee was my top 25 style of surprise. I really liked them coming into this football season. They had their moments with Butch Jones, but now there are question marks kind of going into 2017 about him and his staff. They took a slide at the end of the year. They have an opportunity to go 9-4. That's not necessarily a surprise season. That was more of a disappointment, so I kind of missed on that. But if they do beat Nebraska, that'll generate some momentum into the offseason. And where I did nail a pick was Miami of Ohio. When I predicted them to go between 5-7 and 7-5 this year, it was a make-or-break season, I thought, for Chuck Martin. They kind of split the middle right there and went 6-6. Not the way I had first thought that they would get to that mark. They started off 0-6 this season, but when they got Mr. Ragland back at quarterback after a torn ACL on April 10th, that team just took off. And I think he definitely found his guy. They won 6 straight to get bowl eligible, and we'll see them come postseason play. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. They got to take on an SEC team. They kind of get a little screwed into a bowl game that they possibly are overmatched now. But 5-7 SEC team, albeit with Mississippi State. We'll see if Chuck Martin, if anybody can do it, he can do it. He's a coach to watch out for. Once P.J. Fleck takes off Western Michigan, you're probably going to see Chuck Martin as the next guy now to leave the MAC to greener pastures. And now we go on to the Heisman Trophy. I preface this as well. you got to go with the chalk coming into this year. Deshaun Watson was just too good to pass up, and there's still hope for him. He's got a shot. The one surprise guy that we knew we'd come into this season not knowing about turned out to be Lamar Jackson. Wow, was he just so much fun to watch. So I think it's going to be 1-2 between those two guys. Lamar allowed Deshaun Watson to get back into the race. Deshaun Watson had an ACC championship game to impress all the voters, and he had that one extra game. Lamar Jackson was trying to throw it away, literally, at the end. But I think just the numbers, over 5,000 yards passing, and everything that he's done this year on the ground, through the air, he's a special talent. Either one deserves it. But we'll see what takes place. Deshaun Watson, my prediction, will probably end up in second place behind Mr. Jackson. And with that college football, that's out of the way, we have college bowl games coming up, a whole hell of a lot of them. But after those are done, we might be able to talk about along the way what takes place in those games, if any interesting action does come about. But college basketball is next. Will Duke reign supreme this year? Will there be any big-time surprises coming out of the woodwork? Obviously, Villanova has a quality basketball team as well. We'll check on them once conference action begins the first of the year. And you've just been on air, and I am Ryan Ayers.